Today, let's turn this into this. Hi there, my name's Carolyn Dunn and I'm a dot mandala artist, and I would love to welcome you to my channel. Let's get started, shall we? Welcome back, my friends. Guess what? Surprise, we're working on another Lazy Susan. Again, you can use this as a Lazy Susan. What I've done with a number of mine is I just have removed the back piece and I put on a D-ring to hang it as wall art. I'll paint this black and then I will number and sign the back and date it, and then I'll varnish the back before we start. I have marked a line at the top here to know that it will be oriented right should I choose not to use it as a Lazy Susan, if I chose to hang it as wall art, which I do with some of them. So first thing we're going to do is lay it out with my center finder. So they're 14 inches and I just want to get 14 inches all the way around, sitting nicely. So I'm going to mark my center dot, and then I'm going to mark two lines that intersect at 90 degrees. Okay, so now we're just going to connect the dots. All right, let's get my favorite 16 segment stencil. And once I have those all lined up, then I can put in my lines. Now I'll connect up my squiggly lines. If you get your pencil in the divot you've made for the center dot, it helps to know that your line is going to be going right through that. And now we'll mark off our 0.5 centimeter increments for our circles. There we go. And now let's make some circles, shall we? There we go. We're all in. There. Let's dust off those chalk lines. And these are the tools I'm using today. I've got the Happy Dotting Company tool set. And I love them because I can clearly see the millimeter sizes on them. So they're perfect. And then I have a nail stylus set. The green is 3 millimeter, the blue is 2.5, the white is 2 millimeter, the pink is 1, and the yellow is 0.5 millimeters. And that's all on the large end. And then you can see there are smaller ends on the other side, which we will sometimes use. All right, and here's our color palette for today. We've got Liquitex Basics Acrylic Fluid and Titanium White. In the DecoArt Americanas, we have Mermaid Tail, Bahama Blue, Shoreline, Whispering Turquoise, Lavender, Vivid Violet, Gentle Heather. In Martha Stewart, we have the Multi-Surface Pearl in Jet Stream. And in the Folk Art Color Shift, Pastel Purple. In our Dazzling Metallics, Teal, Purple Pearl, Glorious Gold, and Crushed Grape in the Nuvo Crystal Drops, and then the Tulip Puffy paint in white. We will also use Floetrol if we need it, and we add gloss medium sometimes if we need it. Okay, and of course we base painted in the black CraftSmart black acrylic paint. Okay. Afterwards, I'll go into how we mixed our 5 colors. Okay, here's what we ended up with. Mermaid Tail, straight out of the bottle. Peacock Teal, straight out of the bottle. Bahama Blue, we added a little bit of Peacock Teal to darken that up a bit. Number 4 is Shoreline. We added just a touch of Bahama Blue to that. And then Number 5 is Whispering Turquoise. We added quite a bit of white to that because I should have done the white first. Okay, we're going to go in with that center dot now. All right, let's go in with a round of gold dots, shall we? And we're using the 0.5 millimeter tool. This last row of dots I put in off camera using the first shade, which was Mermaid Tail, straight from the bottle, and the 4 millimeter tool all the way around. Now let's go in with the 8 millimeter tool and the same color we just used and create dots on every 4th line if you have 32 segments. If you've left it at 16 segments, it'll be every 2nd line. Okay, so I've roughly sketched in some guidelines here, and we're going to start with our lightest shade, shade 5, that we mixed, and we're going to walk some dots around these flower bases. So we're starting with the 0.5 millimeter tool to create our uppermost dots. And now we'll walk them down with the small end of that tool. Our next row of petals is using the shade 4 and using the 0.5 millimeter tool again for that uppermost dot. And walking them down again with the small end of the tool. Uppermost dots using the 2 millimeter tool in shade 3, and then we'll move on to the 1 millimeter tool to walk those dots down. Here I'm using the number 1 rigger brush to create titanium white swooshes alongside our flowers. Now if you're not comfortable with brush strokes, you can just use your tool to create these swooshes. And I would suggest the 2.5 or 3 millimeter tool. And to be honest with you, I went back in with my tools later to go over those brush strokes because they were a bit too translucent for me. Okay, time to add some accent color. We're going in with the Nuvo Crystal Drops in Crushed Grape. Yum! And let's create a trio of swooshes here. Beautiful. Now let's bring out that glorious gold and create some dots at the bottom of the swooshes using the 2mm tool and all the way around. Let's create a circle of dots using the pastel purple from Color Shift and the 3.5mm tool. So now we've got the glorious gold out again, and we're going to create 2 dots in between each one of those blue shaded dots, and use as fine a tip tool as you need to get that in there. And now let's place a gold dot at the base of each one of those flowers. Now we're going to create another row of flowers using the Mermaid Tail or shade 1 and the 8mm tool. And we will go on every 4th line, so your flower base should be above the trio of swooshes in the Crushed Grape. And now using the lightest shade, shade 5, we're going to use the 0.5mm tool to create some uppermost dots for our beautiful petals. And let's walk them down with the small end. Lovely. Our second row of petals will be in shade 4, and we're using the 1mm tool for the uppermost dots and to walk those dots down as well. We'll use shade 3 for this row and the 2.5mm tool all the way around. This time we'll walk the dots down with the 2mm tool. Let's put in some titanium white swooshes using the number 1 rigger brush. Okay, now that we have those flowers surrounded by beautiful white swooshes, we're going in with the glorious gold to fill in our leaves. And we'll use the large end of the green tool, the 3.0 millimeter tool, to load that paint, and then use the small end to get into your tight spots and define the edges. Let's add some crushed grape crystal Nuvo drops on either side of the gold leaves. Just a little dab'll do ya. And there we are, all the way around. Here I'm using my air quotes rescue block to tidy up some of those swoosh lines. It's time to introduce some vivid violet into this mix. We're going to use the 2 millimeter tool, and we're going to walk some dots from the middle crushed grape swoosh over towards the tip of the flower there on either side. Okay, I think it's going to be easier to use my leaning bridge to get the other side of these vivid violet dots. So that's what I'm doing. I love my leaning bridge. But what we didn't account for was the height of those crystal Nuvo drops. So the leaning bridge is just a little bit low, and I ended up smearing some of the paint into other areas. So lesson learned, and I'll get Brian to make it a little bit higher for me. Okay, while I'm getting over the leaning bridge disaster, I think we'll go in with the vivid violet paint and we'll dot down the sides of the titanium white brush strokes, and we'll use the 3.0 millimeter tool and just walk the dots down till they run out near the gold leaf. And we'll walk them down with the 2.5 millimeter tool. You'll notice that I haven't run them right down to the gold, but I will go back in and continue that right down to the gold leaf. I've sketched in some little curlicues, and we're going to go in with the gentle heather and swoosh those down. And we're using the 0.5 millimeter tool. And while we've got the gentle heather out, we'll place some tiny gentle heather dots above the crushed grape dots we have there, and we're using the small end of the 0.5 millimeter tool, so a tiny tool. Now I've divided the next two circle lines into 0.5 centimeter segments so we can do some alternating swooshes. Now you do not need to divide it up like that, measure it out, if you're comfortable just doing them. But if you're a beginner, you might find this helpful. And we're going in with the Dazzling Metallics Teal using the 0.5 millimeter tool and always directing our swoosh towards center. And for your measuring reference, these swooshes run between 12 centimeters and 13 centimeters from center. And there we are, all the way around. Purple pearl. And the 0.5 millimeter tool. And I normally let my initial swooshes dry before I go in with the alternate swooshes. It's time for some top dots. Using the 4 millimeter tool and the number 3 shade paint, we're going to top dot those number 1 shade flowers. I think I got that right. While you weren't looking, I placed some Nuvo crystal drops in the crushed grape in the center of those curlicues, between the two gentle heather curlicues. And now we're going in to top dot the outer row of flowers there, again using the 4mm tool and the number 3 shade paint. Okay, let's go in with that Tulip Puffy paint in the white and create a trio of swooshes above the gold leaves. This is my first time using this paint and I quite like it. Okay, so here I've used a 1 1/8 inch circle stencil to create these guidelines. One across the top and one along the bottom. And I'm starting the one along the bottom there. And I'm just dotting with titanium white paint, and I'm using the 2mm tool to do that. And I'm remembering that I need to get that excess chalk off there or the dots will not be circles. Now we'll go in to do the other half circle in lavender paint, and we'll just run our dots along the inner aspect of that circle using the 2mm tool. Now we'll go in with the gentle heather and we'll create some dots along the inner aspect of the line where the lavender dots are, using the 2mm tool again. Okay, here I'm using the 1 5/8 inch circle, and I'm coming down 3 lines from the top, 1, 2, 3, and centering that with those lines, and then I'm just drawing in my sketch there, okay? And we're going to put some swooshes in here, and we're going to add some other swooshes outside of it when we're done. And that's where we're at. Okay, let's go ahead and put some swooshes in here, shall we? We're going to start at this line just below and put in the darkest color, so number 1, and we're using the 1mm tool. We're all the way around with number 1, and we will go in next with number 2, and that's number 2 there. That's the second darkest color, and we're just going to go in like this. Our next color will be number 3. Surprising. That's number 3. And now we'll go in with number 4. And the last one is number 5. So now I'm going to come up with a swoosh up to here, and I want it to come into a bit of a peak, and we're going to do that in the color number 1, the darkest. Okay, we're all the way around. This will be the 2.5 millimeter tool. Okay, now we have to go in the opposite direction without getting our hands in the paint. Our next swoosh is in shade 3, and we're using the 2 millimeter tool to drag that swoosh in the opposite direction. Our last tiny little swoosh will be in color number 4, and we're using the 1 millimeter tool, and some of them will be a little tight. We're going to take some glorious gold to place a dot in the middle there. Now we're going in with Gentle Heather and the number 10 tool to create some dots in between these elements. Okay, we're going to start with some white dots around these. And we'll walk them down with the small end of the tool. Next round of dots is in the Gentle Heather. And I think we'll go in with the white tool for this. Next is Lavender, and I think we'll move up to the blue tool. Okay, so we're with the 2.5 millimeter tool. Oh, we're in. All right, so let's walk these dots around. Okay, we're going to add some swooshes now in Vivid Violet, and we're using the 3 millimeter tool. And we'll start by bringing them almost to the center, but eventually we will bring them all the way across. And then I'm going to turn to the small end to get all the way where I want to be. Our next swooshes are in the Dazzling Metallic Teal. Okay, let's get caught up. Here I've gone in with the 3mm tool and the Vivid Violet paint to do another round of dots here. Now I've placed 2 dots at the top. If you just sort of follow that line along, that's where you want 1 dot. Follow that line along, that's where you want the other one, and 1 on top. So you're doing 3 dots there, and then walking them down, okay? Then I decided to take the gold paint, and I'm gonna do a swoosh on either side here with the gold paint, the glorious gold. And I used the 3mm tool for that, and I'll continue to do that on the rest of them. And that's where we are, we're all caught up. So I want to start right around that Vivid Violet swoosh with my gold one. And then I just switch to the small end to make sure I can get that up a little bit higher. Not all the way, just a little bit higher. For now. Eventually I will take that all the way across the top. There we go. So we're all the way around on the one side, and now we have to do the other side. But while we let that dry, we'll go in with the lavender. And now we're going back in with that Vivid Violet to extend those dots all the way down to the gold leaf. Okay, my friends, it's time to get that other side in. And we're starting actually down a little bit lower. What do you think? Do we carry that all the way over, or do we just leave it? Yeah, let's carry it over. Now let's create some swooshes using the purple pearl paint and the 3mm tool beside the Vivid Violet dots. And now let's create some teal swooshes going in the opposite direction using the 3mm tool and that Dazzling Metallics teal paint. We will be going in later to tidy up all of these swooshes. Okay, now using the 4.5mm tool, we're going to create some Dazzling Metallic Teal dots on either side of the flowers on the outer rim. Excellent! Now we're going to use the Puffy white paint to create a trio of swooshes above the outer rim flowers. So we'll dot the paint at the top and then 1 on either side, a little bit lower. I go 1 line down, I believe here, and then use your fine tip tool to drag it down. All right. Let's take the glorious gold paint and place a dot above those Vivid Violet dots using the 3mm tool all the way around. Okay, so now we're going in with the purple pearl paint to add one last swoosh here using the 3mm tool at the outer rim here, beneath the teal swooshes. I'm sketching in some curly cues. And we're going in with the Dazzling Metallics Teal paint, and we're using the 0.5 millimeter tool to put in these curly cues. And using the 0.5 millimeter tool, let's add a little glorious gold dot in the center of those curly cues. I'll be honest, this piece sat for a few days. I was unhappy with some of the elements and wasn't sure I was going to be able to rectify them. But sometimes it takes just stepping away and looking at it with a fresh set of eyes and knowing what you need to do. So here, I didn't like the fact that these swooshes, the brush stroke swooshes, were pretty translucent. So I went in with my 2.5 millimeter tool and the titanium white paint to beef up that paint. And that made me happy. The next thing I want to work on are these swooshes. I want to remove that negative space. So I'll bring the purple to the teal to the purple, whatever works to make that negative space go away. And I'll do this all the way around. And lastly, I want to get rid of the negative spaces between these swooshes. So I'll work away at bringing the colors up to one another, all the way around. Okay, I'm much happier with that now. Now I'll just go in and touch up the teal blue swooshes in the center there, make sure everything's brought right to the purple, and then hopefully I'll be happy. I like being happy. Okay, now that I'm happy, let's do some top dots. Using the 3 millimeter tool and the Dazzling Metallics Teal, let's place some top dots on these flowers in both rows. And we'll top dot these purple ones with purple pearl using the 3 millimeter tool all the way around. Going in with the teal now to make sure we get rid of the negative space between the purple pearl and the Dazzling Metallics Teal. So it's the small end of the 0.5 millimeter tool. I just want to put a gold dot right in there. Little gold dot there, the large end of the 0.5 millimeter tool. I'm adding another color. I'm adding Martha Stewart's Multi-Surface Pearl in Jetstream, and that is to top dot my teal dots there. I added a little touch of the teal to the Martha Stewart paint just to darken it up a little bit, and I'm using a 3 millimeter tool to place these top dots. Now using the same color paint, we're going to create a swoosh here, and we're using the 1 millimeter tool. And we'll do that all the way around. Now I've sketched in some curlicues, and I'm going in with that same Martha Stewart jet stream paint that's darkened up a little bit with the Dazzling Metallics Teal, and I'm just putting in those curlicues with the 2mm tool. I'm much happier with that. I'm going to let that dry, and then we can get the guidelines off, have a look at where we're at, and see if we want to add anything or just give it a coat of varnish. Okay, it's been 2 seconds that I said I'm going to let that dry. I think I want to add one of those Martha Stewart dots right at the top of that. Just like so. And I'm just using number 3, the 3mm tool, and just kissing the surface. You don't want them too big. Oh, there we are, all the way around. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes you just need to walk away for a while. Give it a few days, whatever. Come back and look at it with a fresh set of eyes and see what you need to do to bring it up to the standards that you want. For the final part of this, I placed purple pearl dots down the middle of those gold leaves. And I used the 1mm tool, and I started in the center and walked the dots in either direction. All right, it's time to clean off those guidelines. Once it's cleaned up, we'll see if there are any touch-ups to do, get them done, and the next thing you're going to see is our varnished piece. I call it Gratitude. And here's our piece with 3 coats of varnish on it. Isn't she lovely? Gratitude. Feel it every day. And of course, the obligatory spin. Wouldn't be the same without it. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Hope to see you next time. Please consider subscribing, liking, or commenting. I'd love it. Bye-bye for now, and remember, keep on dotting.